For a few years in the 1970s, the Mr. Asia Syndicate made millions.
Heroin creates its own market. It acts like a form of plague.
Until jealousy, betrayal and murder brought it all crashing down.
Then he just pulled out a gun, shot her in the back of the head, and then said to Wayne, "You're going to help me bury her."
This is Mr. Asia, A Forgotten History. All episodes now available on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Tonight, Auckland FC face Sydney FC in Sydney. 7 o'clock kickoff New Zealand time. Auckland FC coach is Steve Corica, who joins us now. Steve, first time back in Sydney at Sydney FC as an opposition coach. Of course, you won premierships and championships at Sydney FC as a player and as a coach. So how do you expect the emotions to be when you arrive at the ground in a few hours' time?
It's definitely a strange game for me this weekend, obviously going back to Sydney after a long time. So the main thing, obviously it's a big thing for me, but the main thing is that the players remain focused and just get the job done. It's no different for them. We know how difficult the season's going to be. The run-in 4 games are all difficult, so we treat them as a final each game, and as long as the players are focused on that, that's the main thing.
So you're 11 games unbeaten, 5 points clear at the top with 4 games to go, but 4 draws in your last 5 matches. How do you assess, Steve, where you are with 4 games to go before the finals?
5 points clear. I think if anyone would have said that at the start of the year, I think we would have taken it. So I think the last few games, obviously the draws, there's a couple of things in that. I think it shows that we're hard to beat. But we just haven't had the cutting edge of late, I think, to finish teams off when we've had opportunities. That's the other side of things. So there's obviously 2 different sides of it. Like you said, 11 unbeaten. I think that's pretty good for a team that's just come into the league and showing what we can do.
And apart from the cutting edge, there's also the concession of goals. Are the recent draws in any way frustrating, Steve, especially given the fact that you held leads but gave up leads in 3 of those 4 matches?
Yeah, I think that's probably, for me it is anyway, because I think if you see at the start of the year, we were doing the opposite. You know, we'd go up and we would keep a clean sheet, or, you know, we would get the job done. And I think the last few games, obviously Adelaide, Central Coast, Wanderers even last week, you know, obviously tough teams to play against. But, I think, you know, that's probably the difference from the start of the season. But, you know, towards the end of the season, everyone is, you know, desperate for points, and it shows. You know, that's probably the real positive for me is that, you know, we haven't been beaten, and that's a real positive. For, you know, we've lost 2 games all season. I know draws obviously not the best thing for us right now, but it's a real positive to going into the finals with that mentality.
Formation-wise, are you all in on the front 2, Max Mata, Guillermo Mai? You've played those 2 together for the last, quite a few games. Or might you consider going back to the slightly different formation you used earlier in the season when you had just Guillermo Mai and 2 wingers, a winger either side of him up front?
Well, we still got the wingers with the 2 up front, but, you know, like I said to someone the other day, it looks like it's 2 strikers, but if you look how deep Guillermo is dropping, it's more like a 10 anyway. He's playing as a 10, so, you know, obviously with Max playing, it gives us another dimension because of his height, his strength. That's probably the only difference when Max plays, that he obviously gives us another route, a little bit more direct. You know, we can play balls into him that he can hold up. But if you look at Guillermo, he's playing more deeper, and you could class him as a 10 if you really wanted to, but he's also in the box to score goals. So right now it's working well. You know, we've changed the system a couple of times. You know, we've gone with the back 3 as well to try and bring us home towards late in games as well, or either to keep a clean sheet or to go a little bit more attacking with that system as well. You can do.
Can you just give us an availability update on a couple of players who've been missing recently through injury? That's your Colombian import Nader Moreno and also Liam Gillian, who's been out for a bit longer.
Yeah, they're both trained. Liam trained fully this week. Obviously, he's been out longer than Nader. He's been out for probably 6 to 8 weeks, I think, maybe a little bit longer. I'm not too sure exactly how long. It's been quite a while with him. But he was very good at training this week, so he'll be travelling. And Nader also will be travelling. He's done less training this week, but he's ticked all the boxes. He's only been out a couple of weeks, so it's his fitness levels is probably a little bit better than Liam's at the moment.
Sydney FC, your opposition tonight, they're in a battle for finals places. It's very, very tight in and around sort of 5, 6, 7 on the table, which is where they are. Do you think that'll make them more desperate, perhaps even more dangerous for you tonight?
I think all teams are dangerous at this time of year, especially teams that are around the 6 and trying to get into the 6. They definitely will be. They played in the Champions League, and they've got to play again on next Wednesday, I think, after our game in the Champions League again. So they've got a lot of games coming up, probably a lot of travel as well because they played away on Wednesday. So we'll just try and make the most of what we're trying to achieve, and obviously we want to get a win. So our next challenge is obviously Sydney at their ground, and it'll be a great challenge for us all to go there and get 3 points.
And if you look at the threats that they pose, Steve, they've got a number of attacking threats. Patrick Klimala, 10 goals. Adrian Segicic, 10 goals. Joe Lolly's got 9. Douglas Costa starting to show what he can do. Do you expect them to come at you at home tonight?
I think that's their style of football. They will, I think, 100%. So obviously we're prepared for that. We know how they play and the areas that we want to try and exploit as well. Very attacking team, and they get a lot of bodies forward. Obviously defensively, they've conceded some goals, and I think if we play really well and we can take our opportunities when they come, that we will have a really good crack and hopefully get the 3 points.
You've been here before, Steve. You've won A-League premierships and championships as a player and as a coach. So as you look to negotiate the back end of this season, your first at Auckland FC, how much do you draw on your past experiences as a player and I guess more so as a coach?
Yeah, it's obviously, we're in a great position, obviously, to do something special and win a trophy. First time ever in New Zealand. So, obviously there's a lot of pressure, but there's pressure going into every game. And, maybe we were a little bit unknown at the start of the season, but, teams has obviously come quickly and worked out that we're a very good team, hard to beat. And, teams lift as well because they're playing, the number one team at the moment. So, it's always going to be tough run into the end of the season, and it doesn't matter whether we get the job done in 2 weeks to go or the last game of the season. For me, it's important that the boys remain focused and just keep working hard at what we're trying to achieve and remain focused on every game that we play, because there's no use looking too far in front. It's one game at a time right now, and the game is in Sydney, and if we can get 3 points there, we're inching closer to what we're trying to achieve.
And this week, another accolade for you personally. For the 5th straight month, you were voted A-League Manager of the Month. You'll need more room on your mantelpiece. What do accolades like this mean to you?
It's very nice, obviously, to have that, but obviously it wasn't the best month, I don't think, for us with all the draws in there. But obviously we have a lot of fans that vote for that, and I really appreciate them voting. But obviously it's nice to have five months in a row. That's pretty fantastic. But it's at the end of the day, it doesn't really get me 3 points. So my main focus is getting the 3 points against Sydney.
All right, well, all the best getting those tonight, Steve, and on towards the back end of a very exciting A-League season, the first for Auckland FC. Best of luck tonight, mate, and thanks for chatting to us.
Cheers, Piney. Thanks, mate.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.